All right, Melissa, really appreciate your time today. Thanks so much for hopping onto the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, no, we have a lot to talk about for sure. I know it was an exciting day for Serbia yesterday in the Euros as well. Before we get into the real estate side, I'm curious, how was that? How was the game yesterday for you to watch?
It was a roller coaster of emotions. You go from, a little bit of frustration, a little bit of excitement. They're like about to score a goal, and then the last minute was awesome. I drove my sister to work yesterday, and as I was pulling into into my garage, I saw the goal because I had it on my phone playing while I was out with her. And so I'm like in my garage, I see the goal, I'm like screaming. My neighbors are like, "What's going on over there? Are you okay?" So it was an exciting day yesterday.
That is awesome. Yeah, I know. Like there's like so much tension leading up to that last literally 30 seconds, then it just
Yeah,
unloads, right? I mean,
yeah,
I can't even imagine like what that feeling is to see, especially like your own
yeah,
country doing that, right? So
yeah,
that's so awesome to see.
yeah.
Yeah, so I guess I'm really curious to know right off the bat, like what got you into real estate? What made it kind of a career path that you wanted to pursue? Like were you always into doing this kind of thing or?
So before real estate, I was an insurance agent for 7 years. And, insurance is not the most fun thing, but I loved connecting with people. I loved being able to help them save like hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars on their home and auto insurance. And just building those relationships and getting to know people, I really, really liked. And I would say that around the time when I bought and sold my own property, so I first had a condo, I sold that, and then bought a home. It was around the second time when I was looking for a house to buy, that like I just loved looking at places, like I loved going through, and I think purchasing a property was probably one of the most empowering things that I've ever done in my life. And for me, the kind of turning point was like, I want to give this feeling to other people and like help them achieve this goal because it's a big deal. So that's when I started to look into getting my license and just kind of went with the process from there.
Nice, nice. So like really you could say kind of a natural progression there, right? So you bought your own house, you wanted to you wanted to empathize with that feeling and bring it on to other people as well, which I think is a really cool goal. I think that's a lot of the reason why other people pursue the same kind of path as well.
Mhm.
I'm curious though, like how was it at the beginning compared to now? How was it getting those initial, few clients, like the family, friends type of thing? How was it to get your your footing, so to speak?
So it was a little different for me. So I'm from London,
Mhm.
but I have an uncle who is in real estate out in Windsor. He's a broker owner, of a really large Remax team. And so when I told him, I think I was on like course 4 of my license. I didn't want to tell anyone until I was finished. When I finally told him that I was getting my license, he's like, "Where are you planning on working?" And honestly, at that time, I wasn't really too sure what I was going to do. And so he said, "Come down and work with me and I'll teach you." So I pretty much packed up everything. I bought a house in Windsor, moved everything down there, and I started working with him. And the team out there is really different. It's not like, here's your real estate license, you're on your own. You have a ton of support, there's a ton of training. So you're training every single day. Like we would have Zoom meetings from 9 till 10, Monday to Friday, and, other support throughout the week. So, I just like there was a lot of um, knowledge and support given to you right off the bat. So it's a lot easier when you get out into the field. Um, Support with leads is also something that we had too. So we had, kind of like a pond of people that we would be able to call and start to work with. So my first couple of deals were leads out of that pond, leads that were referred by some other people. So it was a little bit easier to get going. And then, once you start rolling, it's easier to take off from there.
No, really interesting. I think that's a very common theme amongst, you could say, more successful realtors, that they worked within a really strong team,
Mhm.
had that foundation and that support. Like, what are some things that specifically like you were able to pick up that you may have not been able to, that, if you were on your own, for instance, you wouldn't have been able to pick up, or you would have learned much later? Like, what are some things that helped you kind of speed up that transition from being like a brand new realtor into, you could say, a more seasoned, experienced one?
Man, honestly, there's so much. I would say that the one thing that really sticks out to me though is like positioning and knowing what to say, when to say it, and how to say it is like the biggest thing. Um, what my team taught me and what my uncle taught me really is just how to position deals, how to get in front of problems. And that probably wouldn't like, or no, it definitely wouldn't have been something that I would have learned on my own. And even coming back to London. So, I mean, I was on the team for 2 years, and then coming back to London, I was solo and having to set up a website and do branding and like all of these things, trying to set up leads on my own. It was just a little bit of a shock, and I was for sure lost for a little bit. But I found my way, and things are smooth sailing now. But oh, I love the cat behind
Yeah.
your I just noticed him out there. That's so funny. Um yeah, so I mean, there's a ton of stuff that I learned on the team, and honestly, like, 1 year there is like 5 years being somewhere else, just
Mm,
because of the amount of training and support that you get. But for me, I think the number one thing would be positioning.
mm. Interesting. So going back to, yeah, like positioning, I'd love to dive a bit deeper into that. Like, what does positioning mean exactly to you? Like, from an in-person sense and also from an online branding perspective for you.
So what I meant was more so like positioning deals,
Hmm.
positioning, your clients. If you want them to, go from A to B, how are you going to set them up so that they get to where they need to be? When you're negotiating with deals, if somebody, I had a deal last night where the agent wanted more money and he wanted a longer closing date. And I'm like, well, you can't have both. So we're going to keep the money and we'll give you the closing date because we were flexible on that. So just
Hmm.
kind of like positioning those things.
Okay. And like, how do you pick up on those things? Is it really just being surrounded by the right people who are able to position it in the right way? Like, how do you actually develop the skill of positioning a deal properly?
So for any new agent, I would recommend if your brokerage has an office, which they probably do, like go to the office. You're going to pick up things from people who are talking about deals, talking about situations that they have. You'll learn things from them there. If I started, I mean, I love working from home, and I'm okay to do that now. But if I was just working from home when I first started, I wouldn't have learned anything.
Mm,
So going into the office, talking to people within your brokerage who have stuff going on, or, if you can look into getting a mentor where if you're dealing with something, you can call them and ask them for advice. I would say it's probably the biggest thing that you can do for yourself is to make sure that you have that support system when you first start.
mm. Then, like you said, just getting outside of your comfort zone, getting outside of your own house, which, like you said before too, it's like it's super awesome to work from home. But I feel
Yeah.
like I think you and I could both agree with real estate. It's really an in-person kind of game where you want to be
Yeah.
shaking hands, you want to be listening in, being a fly on the wall, so to speak.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. And also the mentorship side too. I've heard that so much from other realtors as well. It's like, I'm curious, so like from your perspective, like how do you find a good mentor? Would you do that from the team that you're put in? Like, would you actually go out and seek external people, or do you think it happens more naturally over time with somebody?
I think it kind of depends. I would say the easiest is probably to find someone within your brokerage.
Hmm.
In mine, we had a mentorship program. So for your first three buyer deals and then for your first three seller deals, um, you would have to be with somebody who's a broker within, or sorry, a mentor within the brokerage. So they would be helping you. You would have someone kind of assigned to you, but I mean, that doesn't happen everywhere. So you would
Mm,
have to find someone your own, and I would just, reach out if you see people who are having success within the team, reach out to them and, ask if they would be willing to do something like that with you.
Mm, okay. No, makes sense. Makes sense. So going back to where you were, so you were working with the team for 2 years, and then you became the solo agent, having to, kind of not start from ground zero, but really build back up your own personal brand and your own flow of leads. Like, how did you end up kind of figuring that all out? Like, what was your approach to bringing in a good, consistent flow of deals again?
So coming back to London, I have a lot of family and friends here. So initially, the first couple of clients that I worked with was that my family and friends, which was awesome to have that like sphere connection because I didn't really have that out in Windsor. Even though I do have a lot of family out there, um, it was just a little bit easier here to connect with people. And because I was in insurance for so long, I was reconnecting with all of those clients saying, hey, I'm back in London and this is what I'm doing still. So if you need anything, reach out. I had a really good connection within the Serbian community as well. I did a ton of insurance policies for the people that I know here. Um, but I also set up like a lead generation website. So I was paying for leads, those were coming in, and I was doing everything that, like all the processes I was following in Windsor, I was doing out here to convert those people.
Mm, okay. And with leads, right? Obviously, it's a different kind of ball game than when you're getting like a referral from our friends or family. It's, you could say, a lot more challenging potentially to convert them into a deal. I'm curious, like this word gets thrown out, right? Lead quality. I'm curious. I like to ask this to everybody. Like, what does lead quality mean to you? And like, what does a good quality lead mean as well to you, like in your pipeline?
I think motivation plays a really big part. So if someone is really motivated and they're willing to do the things that I'm guiding them through, to me, that's a good quality lead.
Mm,
Um, Relocation leads are awesome because, let's say they've got a job and they need to find a place. And, if you tell them, okay, go and get your pre-approval, go and, check with the insurance or like whatever. And they follow those that guidance, to me, that's a really good working relationship.
mm. Okay, interesting. And then like, how do you have you been able to, I guess, optimize for getting those kinds of people like in your pipeline? Do you feel like it's a bit of like a bit of here and there? Some people are tire kickers, some people are really serious about it. How do you like filter out those kinds of people without spending so much time talking to people who might not even be interested in, making a move anytime soon?
Yeah, I mean, it comes with experience. I mean, when I first started, it was easy to get wrapped up because you're so excited about working with,
Hmm.
and it's hard to really filter out who's actually motivated and who is just, kind of looking to look. But at the end of the day, I mean, even those people that are just looking to look, eventually they're going to want to make a move. And I would treat them the exact same as I would treat someone who is, motivated and a quality lead because your reputation is everything and you want to make a lasting impression on those people so that they do come back to you when they're actually ready.
Mm, interesting. And then like with those kinds of people who maybe like are 6 months away or a few months away from making a move, how do you stay in the loop with them? Like, is it just a matter of putting them into an automated CRM, or do you like actually call them every month or so? Like, how do you stay on top of new opportunities? Because I think like, that's a big challenge for a lot of realtors is just staying on top of people who are like 50% of the way there or like 60% of the way there, but they're not like quite there yet. How do
Mhm.
you maintain those relationships with people?
I mean, communication is everything. So even, if they're looking to buy tomorrow, if they're looking to buy in a year, the biggest thing is education. So I have clients actually who contacted me back in January. They're looking in October, and they're coming from out of province. So I know a specific area that they're looking to buy. So I'm sending them the detailed reports on that area specifically every single month. So they'll get that every single month. And then, if I hear about an event that I know that they might be interested in, I'll shoot that over to them as another touch point. There's so many ways to keep in touch with people. And I like to make it personal. I don't want to just put them on a drip and forget about them. I want them to know that I am still thinking about them, even if they're, months away, and just keeping them informed and updated on what's going on in the market.
And do you think that having like those, you have a lot of social media presence, you have like a Google My Business profile where you do consistent updates. And even I was like going back to the education front, sellers guides, buyers guides, things like that. How big of an impact do those kinds of, you could say, lead magnets or free guides have in just your ability to nurture people, keep them in your sphere of influence per se? How much of an impact do those kinds of things have for you, like personally, would you say those like free resources you could say?
Um, I would say that they have an impact. I don't know how big of an impact they have. I mean, every time, like the listing guide that I have, I bring that to every listing presentation with me. I'll send them to the people that I'm going to meet a day or two before so that they can, review it. And that way, if they have any questions, we can discuss it when I'm there. Um, and the buyer's guide's a little bit different. It's kind of more so a roadmap to the home buying process. And so again, when I, do sit down with them, if they do have any questions off of that, it's a great talking point. I don't know if everybody reads through every single one of them. I mean, but I mean, it is a great resource for people to have and look back on.
Mm. No, for sure, for sure. And like I think that it's just an evergreen piece of content that you can consistently use, and like you wouldn't have to keep remaking it for new and new clients. And that's really interesting to hear. I think that it's just building up your personal portfolio, you could say, of
Mhm.
different assets that you can leverage. I'm curious, like looking back when you first started as a solo agent after those 2 years, is there anything that you would have done differently to get to maybe where you are right now, like faster? Or do you think that you probably did everything that you set your mind to and it was like the right path to move forward with?
Oh no, I think I made the right decision to move out there and start with the team 100%. I don't think that I would be where I am today if I didn't do that. I think it would have taken me 10 times longer.
Mm,
Um, the biggest thing is like when you're working on a team like that and you're doing a lot of deals, you build a lot of confidence and you're more sure in the decisions that you're making. And your clients see that. Your clients want someone who's confident and a leader and who can guide you through the process. They don't want someone who is not really sure of what's going on. And unfortunately, there's a lot of realtors that when they start and if they're solo and they don't have any guidance, they're not sure what the hell they're doing because, you don't get that hands-on education when you're going through your real estate courses. You really start learning once you're in the field and putting deals together. So, um, I'm definitely happy with the decision that I made. And, the only reason that I left was because I wanted to come back home and be closer to family and friends. So Windsor wasn't for me, but the team 1000%, was the best thing that I could have done.
Like, do you think that's the biggest reason why, or one of the reasons why most new realtors struggle or even like drop off and, stop practicing? Is it because they just don't have the ability to join a team? Like they're just kind of doing it all on their own? Like from what you've seen, like what are some mistakes that you see from like new realtors that, you look back and think like, oh, like this is not the way I would have approached it.
Um, yeah, I mean, like when you're buying and selling real estate, you're dealing with the biggest decision and the like biggest thing that people are going to be purchasing in their lives. It's a really big responsibility. So if you don't have that guidance and someone that you can call to help you, there's a lot of chances for you to make mistakes. I mean, and there's a lot of stuff to know. And not every deal is the same. So you're always running into something, and there's always something that you can be learning. So if you don't have that support, it's going to be really, really tough. And I think that's why so many people drop off because it takes them a lot longer to get a deal. If you're, working another job, it takes even longer. This is an all-in business, and if you don't have that support, you're not making any money, and it's hard to make a living that way.
Yeah, and you mentioned the all-in aspect as well, right? Like this isn't a normal 9 to 5 job. I mean, I'm curious, like what does like it probably fluctuates, but like how many hours do you think you work a week right now? Like what does your, days look like nowadays?
Yeah, I mean, it's different every single day. It's hard to kind of give you, like a typical day. There are things in my day that I make sure that I always do. So prospecting for new business is something that I make sure I do every day, whether that's, phone calls, sending out messages, email, stuff like that. Um, I mean, I do a lot of like showings, listing appointments, stuff like that. I mean, that's not every single day. It just kind of depends on how the week is going. And then I make sure that I take, time for myself too. So, walks with my dogs are really important. I need to make sure that my mind is okay, before I go and help other people. So it really just depends. What it looks like, who I'm working with. Sometimes I have clients that are only available after 5. Sometimes I have clients that, like to do stuff in the morning. So it's all over the place.
Yeah, no, makes sense, makes sense. And then also, recently, you became a new broker as well, which is, by the way, congratulations on that, first off.
Thank you.
I'm curious, I'm not sure how recent it's been, but like, how has your responsibilities and your approach to your work kind of changed after that, transition?
Yeah, so I mean, like my role really is the same. I wanted to get my license because you never know where real estate is going to take you. And it's nicer to have that broker license over like sales representative, right?
Hmm.
It's a extra education. It's a little bit of a higher license. And, I'm a little bit competitive. So I want to, make sure that if there is a chance for me to improve, I'm, going to take that.
And like, would you recommend most people to wait like a certain amount of time before getting a broker license? Like, do you think that there's like a certain threshold you should hit of like how many deals you close or what your experience is before you pursue something like that?
No, but there is a timeline. So you can apply for well, yeah, you can apply to do your broker's license anytime.
Hmm.
But for you to be actually registered, it has to be 2 years from when you get your real estate license.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay. And I guess going back to some of the branding stuff that you were talking about with like you're generating leads from your website, and anything like that. Like, have you tried any type of like even online ads or even other things like too, like door knocking, cold calling? Have you tried like all these different types of things? I'm curious to know.
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, I've done door knocking, I've done cold calling, email marketing, print ads, social media stuff.
Mm.
I have the Google ads being run by, I can't remember the name of them now, but they'll do stuff for me. So leads are coming in. I mean, it seems to be working. Referrals is also great. I've had a ton of those as well. So, I mean, it's a mix. Like, you're not going to get all of your business just from one, funnel. You're going to get it from everywhere. So,
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. I mean, it's good to diversify your lead gen, so to speak, because a lot of people rely heavily on their friends and family or the
mhm.
referrals, which can be amazing when times are good, but it can be inconsistent when times are a bit tougher potentially. I'm curious, like out of all those, like you could say like guerrilla marketing techniques of like the cold calling, door knocking, stuff like that, like what do you think actually works? Like even the email marketing, stuff like that. Like what do you think actually provides like the most amount of leads and the best quality kind of leads from your experience?
I mean, referrals are really good because you know that that person is looking and they've already been given to you by someone that you know mutually. So, that's always a warm connection. The online leads that I do are really good as well. I mean, it's, hit or miss. Sometimes you have people that are just kind of looking to look. But again, eventually they're going to be looking for something. So it's all about the follow-up and just staying consistent with them until they're ready.
And then I'm curious, like when you do close a deal and then, it's set in stone, let's say you help somebody sell their house, do you do any kind of after follow-up, like in terms of like following up with past clients? Like what does that look like for you?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's not going to be as much as, we were talking before for all of my active clients. You're more or less talking 5 times a day. But, you know, I'll know, birthdays or like house anniversaries I keep track of. So, I mean, those are two touch points. I have a client who was a farmer out in Chatham, and so we had a big farm show here in London. So, I messaged him about that, saying, "Hey, did you see that this was coming up? Are you going to come down and look at all the tractors?" So, like, that's a way that I'll keep in touch with them. So, um, I would say it's probably, once every couple months, unless there's something specific that I want to talk to them about. But for sure, you want to keep in touch with people.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's kind of funny because I feel like most of it just comes down to being a genuine person and like actually wanting to care about people. It's not
Mhm.
really about like, hey, let's stick them in a CRM, like you were saying, just stick them in a CRM drip campaign, which can work, of course. And like, I guess if you have a huge quantity of leads and clients, it can work super well. But like, how do you balance that though? Because I'm sure you have like a lot of things on your plate, a lot of deals, a lot of past clients, a lot of current leads. How do you deal with a personalized approach while also keeping some things more systemized and automatic?
So I have a really good CRM that keeps me organized. If I didn't have that, I would definitely be lost. So, I have reminders of, when I should be making those touch points. And it's honestly, it keeps me organized with who I need to contact and when. So having that really, really helps.
And how many times would you follow up with somebody like a lead, for instance, before you just give it up? Is it follow up till you die, or is it is it a certain number of times?
Follow up till you die.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I think this has been really insightful. I'm curious to know, like, aside from, joining a team and being surrounded by other, influential realtors and kind of picking up on things, like, what other advice would you give to both new and experienced realtors who maybe have, experienced the ups and downs of the past couple of years for sure? Like, what are some things that you could recommend in terms of like just getting back on your footing, getting consistent deal flow back in? Um, yeah, I guess that was my question.
Yeah, I mean, people always say, like, go back to the basics, go back to doing what kept you or what got you busy in the first place. So whether that's making calls, emails, reaching out to your family and friends, start doing that stuff again because, the work that you do today is going to pay off 90 days from today, right? Um, but I mean, like, for anybody who's starting out, work hard, don't give up just because people say no or reject you. um, Keep the client in mind and be kind to people. People want to feel good when they're working with you. They don't want to feel like just another transaction or like you're just going to get the sale. You need to be putting them in their best interest in front of everything.
No, I love that because it's just guided on the right foundational principles, right? And like you said, it's really the basics, and everybody knows what to do. It's more about just going about and actually doing it. Because
Mhm.
I can imagine, you start off, you're super excited, you're making 200 cold calls a day, you're knocking on all these doors. It's really exciting, and then you finally get the fruits of those labor. But then you become a little bit complacent because you've gotten some client flow, and then you forget, like you were saying, what got you to where you were today. So it's
Mhm.
almost like a trap. And I think I'm really happy that you kind of brought that up because I think it's something that everybody experiences, but especially in a field like real estate where you're just relying on that commission, right?
Yeah.
No, great. So I know we're about halfway, I think we are halfway through the year now, Melissa. I'm curious, how is the rest of 2024 shaping up for you, or just even beyond that?
Things are good. I mean, I've got a lot of things in the pipeline. I've also got a trip coming up soon. So, I'm looking forward to the summer and what the rest of the year has to bring.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, real quick, like what does work-life balance mean to you? Like how do you optimize for that? Because you mentioned that before too, where it's like you take time for yourself, walk the dog, make sure your own mental state is good for your clients. How do you like actually maintain that? Because I imagine a lot of realtors are just like head down, paper and pen or on the computer like all day, and then it can really affect how they deal with their clients as well, and it kind of produces a bit of a negative feedback loop there. Like, how do you take the time and attention to really take it upon yourself to just say nope, like shut off for a little bit and then come back to it in like in a few minutes or wherever, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, there are always going to be things that you have to deal with right away. And I'm the type of person that, if an email comes in or if a problem arises, like I have to fix it right then and there. Otherwise, I'm not going to be okay. I'm going to be thinking about it. So it's better that I just deal with it and then move on. But it's just, it's about making the choices, within your day that like my current broker, he talks about, people, time blocking their day. Like that's impossible because things are going to come up. You're going to have to deal with them. So, if I want to go for, a walk in the morning, but I can't, then I'm going to go in the afternoon. So like, I'm going to find the time to do what I need to do, um, to have that balance. So
Just being flexible, yeah, like you said, I think time blocking does not work at all. I mean, it's like you take an hour to plan out your next day, and then it just gets completely wishy-washy as soon as a new email comes in. It's like
yeah.
that's really what I see as well. Anything else that you do at all to like just keep your own kind of mental state in check?
Um, I mean, I play sports. I play soccer. I recently started playing flag football, which is a lot of fun. Um, I mean, really sports, time with family, is really all that I do. So
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And like definitely sporty type as well from the very beginning of our conversation too. So it was really cool
yeah.
to hear about Serbia's last minute victory there. But yeah, Melissa, I just want to say like thanks so much again for hopping on. I think that was definitely a lot of really good insights that both like new and experienced realtors can really take away from how you've approached your career, because I think it's a very natural progression of being a part of a good team and then being solo and now transitioning into, you could say, the broker phase where like you're kind of progressing in the very fashion that you designed it to, so to speak. So just want to say again, like thanks so much for your time a lot. Anything else that you wanted to share, I guess, before we hop off here, Melissa?
No, that was awesome. You're a really good interviewer. So that was that great. That was great. I really enjoyed it.
I appreciate you a lot. Thanks so much, and all the best to you.
Thank you so much. Have a good
All
day.
right, thanks. Cheers. Bye bye.